Today, we're exploring part of San Diego that you think you might know, but there's way more beneath the surface. It's a place you might have gone bike riding, paddleboarding, or had a picnic. But before it was the largest aquatic park in the United States, it was something completely different. Welcome to Voyager. My name's Armando. Let's check it out.
I've walked these shores 100 times, and yet I didn't know half of the story until I started digging into the history. Most people don't know that what you're looking at today was once nothing but wetlands and salt marshes for as far as the eye can see, untouched for thousands of years. And it has a history of forgotten stories, massive transformations, and a surprising twist involving one man and his passion for speed on the water. We'll cover everything from its early days as a quiet stretch of wetlands along the coast to its transformation into the largest aquatic park in the country and one of the top spots in the world for boat racing. This is the hidden history of Mission Bay. Mission Bay didn't always look the way it does now. If you were standing here about 10,000 years ago, you'd be surrounded by nothing but wetlands and submerged salt marshes. It was a completely different world. Back then, the Kumeyaay people lived here, using the natural resources of the bay and living in nearby villages near what is now Old Town and in the shadow of Rose Canyon. Fast forward to 1542, Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo, a Spanish explorer, sailed along the San Diego coastline. And at the time, this area was referred to as Bahia Falsa, or the False Bay, so it wouldn't be confused with what is now the San Diego Bay. Bahia Falsa was shallow and definitely not a friendly place to sail. Then in 1602, another explorer, Sebastian Vizcaino, came through and mapped the area a bit more carefully. Not much changed for the next couple hundred years, but in the 1800s, people built hunting and fishing camps, and the first real steps toward developing the place began. It wasn't exactly the attraction that you know today, but the seeds were planted. In 1877, the area saw a big shift when a dam was built. It was designed to reroute the San Diego River away from the bustling San Diego Bay and channel all that water right into False Bay, creating the layout that we're familiar with today. Mission Bay got its first major upgrades in the 1940s. What was once a sprawling marshland was about to become a massive aquatic playground. And to accomplish this, they moved mountains of sand and silt. Starting in the 40s, the city launched an enormous dredging project, pulling out a staggering 25 million cubic yards of material. That's enough to fill Petco Park 20 times, and it reshaped the entire area. The whole plan was to turn the marshes into something incredible, an actual man-made park on the water. By the 1960s, the transformation was nearly complete. Islands, beaches, boat launches, and everything you see today was carefully planned out and built from scratch. Fiesta Island, Vacation Island, they were sculpted specifically for activities like boat racing. Roads, bridges, marinas were all built to handle the influx of people ready to explore the bay. SeaWorld opened its doors in 1964 and brought tourists flocking from all over, ready to see the park's marine life and shows. And that was just the beginning. Years later, Campland by the Bay opened up, giving families a place to stay right on the water. Picnic areas were popping up, sports fields were getting marked, and the beaches were getting packed. Mission Bay was becoming the go-to spot for recreation in Southern California. If you're enjoying the video or learned something new so far, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. Now back to Mission Bay. If you ever hear the roar of hydroplanes cutting across water here, that can be credited to the father of Mission Bay racing, Bill Muncey. Born in Royal Oak, Michigan, Muncey was no stranger to speed, but it was here in San Diego where his legacy really took off. When Mission Bay was still being shaped, Muncey had a vision to transform part of Mission Bay into a premier venue for hydroplane racing. A legendary unlimited hydroplane racer himself, he was instrumental in the project that created East Vacation Island and Fiesta Island with a 2.5-mile oval-shaped racecourse right in between. If you look at it today, you can see how the shorelines were curved and the beaches were sloped specifically to accommodate hydroplane racing. Muncey was credited for being the driving force behind getting the racecourse built, and he helped to bring the first race to Mission Bay in 1964. This race was considered the birth of a tradition, and year after year, hydroplane racers would come back to San Diego, all thanks to Bill Muncey's efforts. And to this day, the race course is named after him, and you can find this statue dedicated to him at East Vacation Island, right by the boat ramps. What made him a legend wasn't just his role in the bay development, he was also an absolute master on the water. Over 3 decades of racing, Muncey racked up titles including Gold Cups, World Championships, and he was nicknamed Mr. Unlimited. He won 62 races, holding the record for the most wins in the sport for decades to come. Sadly, Muncey's life ended in tragedy during a race in 1981, but his legacy is alive and well, and the San Diego Bayfair Bill Muncey Cup is held every September. It stands as a tribute to the man who made Mission Bay a global stage for boat racing. Every year, the engines roar in his honor. Hydroplanes aren't your average boat. They're actually as much an airplane as they are a boat, traveling above the water at speeds close to 200 miles per hour. Hydroplanes don't touch the water as much as you might think. Only the rudder and propeller contact the water, with the rest of the boat skimming above the surface like a stone skips across the water. It's incredible to watch this in person when you realize what's happening. These boats use turbine engines similar to what you'd find in a military helicopter, which power the propellers and spin at a ridiculous 13,000 times per minute. And hydroplanes travel faster than a bullet train, a Lamborghini, and even an arrow shot from a bow. Controlling these monsters isn't as easy as hitting the gas and steering. There are front cantered wings that the driver adjusts to control the lift, keeping just enough of the boat on the water to maintain control without slowing down too much. If they hit a rough patch of water or catch the wrong gust of wind, well, let's just say things can go south real quick. And this can lead to the scary flips that you've seen where the boat goes completely airborne. But safety is a huge priority in the sport. These drivers are strapped into fully enclosed cockpits that have more protection than some jet fighters. We're talking about F-16 grade windows, quick release harnesses, and escape hatches in case the boat flips. They've thought of everything to keep the racers as safe as possible, even at those insane speeds. But again, the nature of the sport is unpredictable and anything can happen. Hydroplanes aren't just fast, they're a high-stakes game of skill, courage, and sometimes a little bit of luck. And here, on Mission Bay's 2.5-mile course, we get to see the best of the best go head-to-head, pushing their boats and themselves to the limit. Every year, like clockwork, Mission Bay transforms from its usual laid-back vibe into a roaring hub of boat racing. And this is the San Diego Bayfair, an event with deep roots in the racing world and in the waters of Mission Bay. The Bayfair is a perfect example of what Mission Bay was built for. It all kicked off back in 1964, the same year SeaWorld opened its doors just across the bay. Since the very beginning, the Bayfair has been more than just about the races. It's an annual celebration and a tradition. The Bayfair has a community spirit, and families return here year after year to Vacation Island and Crown Point. Over 500 RVs turn the parks into a small village, and nearly 100,000 people make their way to San Diego Bayfair from all over the country to continue the tradition which many families have carried on for generations. They set up shop for the weekend, cooking out, watching races, playing games, and soaking in the sun. It's an incredible family-friendly event with everything from live music to car shows, food vendors, craft beer festival, and attractions like the hydro games and jet ski races. And visiting here is like nothing else. The energy, the noise, the sheer power of the boats is incredible. It's something you have to experience at least once. If you ever get a chance, I highly recommend checking it out. So here we are, back where we started, standing on the shores of Mission Bay. Looking out at this place today, it's hard to imagine that just decades ago, it was a sprawling stretch of tidal marshes and wetlands. The transformation is almost unbelievable. 25 million cubic yards of materials moved, islands built from scratch, and now it's the largest man-made aquatic park in the United States, created right here. But what makes Mission Bay special isn't just the engineering feat, it's the vision behind it. They saw a place where community could come together, and that's exactly what it's become. There's something about Mission Bay that connects the past to the present, in a way few places can.
If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content about San Diego, Southern California, and beyond. I appreciate you taking the time to spend here and encourage you to get out and explore, whether it's in your backyard or somewhere completely new. Now, to continue exploring, click right here, and I'll see you in the next video.